Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in again to Earth to Claudette. So I just came back from this service. It was a pastor's conference service, and Bishop T.D. Jakes preached. And now Bishop T.D. Jakes is, I would say, one of my favorite preachers. I really got to experience more of his ministry and really tap in and feel pulled in during, I want to say 2020. I felt like he was totally different in 2020 than he was years prior. Because I remember trying to get into him years before that. I have my mother, she would love to watch him. And prior to 2020, I was okay, it feels like it's not really for me. It didn't feel youthful enough, or I just couldn't connect, right? But 2020 hit, I felt like God really shifted him in this new way, and I felt this draw and pull. And ever since then, your girl has been plugged into the Potter's House Ministries. So the service today was powerful, as it usually is when you have Bishop Jakes ministering and preaching. And one thing for me that really resonated with me is that feeling of belonging. So one thing that I have not, really felt often in different spaces is that sense of belonging, that sense of connection to a space, to a group of people. Sometimes I would just feel I'm there, and I love the people, and I will feel for them and want to help and to serve, but then not really feel connected. But with Bishop Jakes, I don't know if it's his ministry and his parent ministry, because he has his own bishop, and there's a whole connectivity and connection of churches there. And I have visited some of the connecting churches, and I have felt this sense of connection and of belonging. And it's not that I'm even plugged in fully yet, so I'm still pretty new, but it's just a beautiful thing, and it's just a beautiful thing to find a place that you feel connected to, even without you having introduced yourself to everyone yet in the ministry, or haven't even joined a ministry, within the ministry. Just feeling that sense of connection, that sense of community, it's a beautiful thing. So this video is to, encourage you to not give up on looking for that. And I know that us younger people can be notorious church hoppers, but I just want to encourage you to keep looking, and actually settle and sit in a place long enough to, allow God to speak to you with regards to whether that's where he wants you to go or not. In fact, before you even go to a church, ask God to direct you where he wants you to go. So for me, it was between two churches. It was this one, a church I'm currently attending that Bishop Jakes ministered at today. And then there's another one, but they're in opposite directions. And at first I thought I would choose the other one because it's bigger, and actually had a run-in with the senior pastor randomly some years before I even knew that he was a pastor. But it's something about this place that I'm going to now, because I knew it was connected to Bishop Jakes' parent ministry. So I was all right, let me check it out, since I'm a e-church member for the Potter's House. But I'm just glad that God has led me here, and I pray that I get to see what comes of it. I'm excited, and I hope that you find a place too that you feel this sense of community, because I know that since the pandemic, a lot of things have changed. A lot of people have been shifted and reorganized. Priorities have changed. How we view our time has changed. And that all of those reasons and points that I've just made apply to me, and so since we are now, some would say still kind of in it, but not really, we're not locked down anymore, I do think that it's good for us to find a church home like that we could go to physically. Like, it's cool to watch stuff virtually, right? Like, because I was team virtual for many years, like really up until I want to say like a few months ago. Like, I was like, oh, I don't know where I would go outside of watching the Potter's House. But stepping into like a church, like in a church that you know God is calling you to, like, it's good for you to see people and see how they really are, because the internet has this sort of thwarted or distorted view of reality, and it'll make you feel like people are out here just balling. And like, at one point I thought everybody was rich, and I thought because the internet made it seem like everybody was rich. And even looking outside, there was like a lot of people indulging in like luxury items, luxury vehicles. And I felt like it was a period that they were doing that more than before. I felt like every other car was like a Benz or BMW or Porsche or something. Like, and that's just me. That's what I've seen in New York. That's what I've seen on the East Coast. California, it's like that all the time. So, I mean, I went like a year ago and it seemed like it's like that all the time. So I'm not speaking on them. But I am speaking to working class people in working class communities, just seeming like everyone was like trying to ball. But really, I think it was because of them PPP loans, you see, and all those like government, stimulus funds and stuff, that people were choosing luxury. And then also probably because of the pandemic, people were like, you know what, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna just ball out. I'm gonna enjoy my life. I'm gonna get whatever I like. I'm gonna get what I want, and can't really blame people for that. But what it can do is make different persons feel isolated, or make people feel like they got a front with something, or be pretentious, right, about what they have and what they don't have. And I felt those pressures sometimes, even though I realized that, like, we're all blessed. Like, if you live in America, you're blessed, for real. So no matter your income level, and honestly, if you're alive, you are blessed. So that brings me back to the point about going into a physical church and finding a church that you would like. It's just good to see real people, even if you don't like talk to everybody. If you're like, a little like cautious, you like to take your time before you engage communities and groups, I do think it's good that you at least see what real people look like. See what real people, without internet filters, without all these like false presentations about who they are, and projections. See what they are like in the real world. See what people are like in the community that you live, or at least the community nearby, because your church should be relatively close if you're gonna be going there. It's a good thing to do, because we need to maintain our like connection to people, to community, to reality. So I'm just encouraging you today to, not give up on your quest for a church and finding a church home. And me, like, this coming from me, this is a big deal, because your girl was like, okay, service is over, I'm out, because I didn't want to deal with like any funny business, like, because I felt like some people would be like, could be mean, in church, and I didn't want to deal with any backhand comments. And then if I'm going to spaces by myself, I didn't want to feel like, like highlighted and people start pressing you to try to join right away. Like, I don't like that stuff. I like to make the decision on my own, and I like to ease myself in if I feel compelled to do so, or if I'm like directed to do so. So I just, again, encourage you to find a church. It's a good thing to do. And I know that people have experienced major trauma being in churches, and I have some traumas myself that I had to reconcile going back in. And then I know there's like the whole issue about like money. Sometimes it could feel like like every other word is money, but but I feel like nobody could force you to do what you don't want to do. And if a church does put more emphasis on your salvation than, or put more emphasis on your finances, I should say, than your salvation, or they make you feel funny for not giving, that's not the church for you. But there are other churches out there that, add tremendous value, and so much so, like, you'd want to, out of your own heart, to give and sow something, even if, you feel like you may not be able to give the tenth, or you have a different interpretation of the tithe. Just know that there is value still in your local church. And I pray that you find one that you feel connected to, where you're able to grow as a person, as a, kingdom son or daughter, and that you're able to give and you're able to actually see the needs of people in your community, so that even after you leave church, maybe if you work in a Fortune 500 company, or in government, or at a not-for-profit, or as an entrepreneur, you can think about things that you can create to actually help those very real people that you're able to see every Sunday, or every day that there's a church meeting or, fellowship. All right, so I pray this message blessed you. I pray once again that the Lord order your steps to where you need to be, especially into the right house, the right church, where you'll be able to praise him and he'll be glorified. God bless you. Have a great day.